This is ChannelPro Weekly, episode 270, with guest Chris Barber from Cheaper Than a Geek, recorded Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. Hello and welcome to ChannelPro Weekly, episode 270. My name is Matt Whitlock, technology editor for the ChannelPro Network, and your host of this fine show for managed services providers, IT providers, or pretty much anyone in the IT channel. We welcome you one and all, and you're going to be glad that you joined us today because we have an amazing special guest lined up to join us this week. Very excited to have him on. I think he's going to have a lot to offer. He is the founder of Cheaper Than a Geek, which is an MSP, donning the title Chief Nerd as he and his team deliver exceptional technical support and customer service to its SMB customers, while himself bringing a unique blend of expertise and passion to the table, and an outstanding hairdo, I have to add as well. Please welcome Chris Barber.
Hey, man, I appreciate you guys bringing me on. This is going to be fun.
I am very glad that you've decided to join us. I got a chance to meet you at one of our live events this year, and got to hear your session and talk. And it was an amazing presentation, very insightful, very interesting. And we're going to tread a little bit of that ground here in our discussion, but I really implore anybody who ever gets a chance to come and see you in person and see you speak, please do. It's really great. But before I gush into the topic there, why don't we take a couple of minutes and learn a little bit more about you and a little bit more about your business?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So here, I'll put the nerd glasses on here. So thank you for that very friendly intro, by the way. So I'm the chief nerd. I started this company, a little over 24 years ago. And like many of the folks that might be tuning in, we started off as break fix shop, and over the years, translated that into being full-blown MSP. So we're in a city called Crofton, Maryland, which is right in the middle of DC and Baltimore. So it's a great place to be. We service both markets, and our specialty is the smaller SMB space. So most of our clients are 1 to 10, 1 to 20 person companies. That's where we live and breathe. We like to tell everybody we take the SH out of IT. That's what we do. But yeah, that's who we are. And like I said, I'm just happy to be here, man. This is great.
You done the title Chief Nerd. What got you wanting to get into IT and computers?
Oh, man. You don't know the backstory, do you?
I don't.
Oh, it's kind of funny. Okay, so this is actually my second career. So my first career was I was an auto theft investigator, and thoroughly enjoyed it. Obviously, very, very different from IT. And was kind of a front runner in some ways on how we were getting the jobs done. But technology was starting to make that universe a little obsolete. So I had friends in DC PD auto theft and Prince George's County PD auto theft and several other ones where their units were shrinking and shrinking. The technology was getting better and better. And I'm like, I should probably pivot here. This is before pivoting was a thing. So it seems funny to say, but give me a little credit. This is in the 90s. I was like, computers, there might be a future in computers, maybe. So I actually tried to build a computer. I was like, let me see if I have an aptitude for this. To my shock and amazement, it worked, but it blew up about 2 weeks after I put it together. So I took it to a computer repair store to figure out what was going on. And that's when I realized, wow, the IT industry is famous for terrible customer service. Holy moly. If I start an IT company that's nice to people and has upfront pricing, flat rate whenever you can do it type of thing, we would be very different than a lot of what was out there. So that's what got the party started almost 25 years ago, really. And that's what we've been doing ever since, man. It's been a hoot.
That's awesome. It's always great to hear how people kind of end up into the IT industry and what their background is. It's very fast. Everybody's got a different story. And and ones like that are just I don't know, fascinating to me. So awesome. Well, Chris, the reason why you're here is because one of the topics that I know you like to talk about, and one of the things that you have been very effective with in your business, is being involved with professional organizations and professional associations. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell about some of the professional memberships that you're in, and which of those organizations kind of appealed the most to you?
Sure, sure. It would take the rest of the segment to rattle off the whole list, but some of my favorites are the Maryland Chamber of Commerce, so the statewide chamber. Also, the Central Maryland Chamber of Commerce, so that's like a regional chamber. The Crofton Chamber of Commerce, so that's a local chamber. So all three of those chambers are different kinds of chambers that focus on different things. Um, I'm a huge fan of the National Society of IT Service Providers. And all of these, I've either been or am on their boards. Also, Leadership Anne Arundel, which is like a leadership development organization. It's got a great reputation. Leadership Maryland, same idea on a larger scale. And also the local workforce development board, the Anne Arundel County Workforce Development Board. Like a lot of folks that might be tuning in, procuring employees is kind of difficult. And I was getting frustrated by that. So I decided if I've got to figure out how to create a pipeline of employees, well, then I'm just going to go ahead and do it for my industry around here. So I got plugged into the Workforce Development Board and absolutely love it. So, they're great for a great many reasons. The networking is huge. The opportunities, obviously, you've got what most folks tend to gravitate towards, which is, business opportunities. You may meet and bump into potential clients. That's absolutely within the realm of possibilities. A lot of folks kind of start and stop there, but I like using it as more of like a referral partner type of situation. So instead of trying to get, let's just say, an insurance agency to sign up for managed services with us, what's way better than that is developing a relationship with them. Maybe you do take them on as a client, but they're writing cyber insurance liability policies all day long. So they're interacting with businesses who are filling out that questionnaire, and they have half of what they need. It's a super great intro if they say, well, you know what, you should call Chris's team over at Cheaper Than a Geek. They can help you implement the firewall and the EDR and the air gap backups and get you going so you can get this policy. And conversely, if we're talking to a client about their IT needs, one thing I always like to work in there is, hey, do you folks have cyber liability insurance? Because we're going to put you in a really good place. However, you are not hacker proof. Nobody is hacker proof, and you need to make sure that you've got insurance too. So those kind of reciprocal relationships are really what I think are the best parts of all. So instead of landing one client, you might build a relationship where now you're getting 25. So leveraging it that way, I think, is huge. And then a lot of these organizations, in some capacity, are doing legislative and policy type of things. It's very easy to get legislated into a bad place, or I mean, quite frankly, right now, our industry isn't really regulated, and probably it will be one day. And I think it's a really good idea that we have a voice in that conversation, as opposed to we all just wake up one day and people who don't understand computers are telling us how to do our jobs. So any kind of organization like that, I think, is super important to be involved in. And a great example of that would be the NSITSP, the National Society of IT Service Providers. That's exactly what they're trying to do, which I think is really important.
So tell me a little bit about what's involved with being part of all these organizations, because you rattled off a bunch of them, and I really want to kind of focus in on the Chamber of Commerce, because most businesses will have one in their area, if not, as you said, others, regional ones, local ones. Some smaller areas might just be one for a town or whatever. But what kind of time is involved? What do you need to do to be a part of these organizations?
That's a good question. I had to figure that out. So I'm glad you asked that, because if I could save some folks some time and effort, it's funny. My chamber journey started off with, I joined the local chamber. It was the Crofton Chamber of Commerce. I did absolutely nothing with my membership. And at renewal time, they came up and said, "Hey, we hope you're going to renew." And I said, "You know what? I'm not really getting anything out of this." And they're like, "Because you're not doing anything." And I'm like, "Oh." So I can't speak for the entire planet, but chances are your neighborhood is a lot like my neighborhood, which is you don't join a chamber of commerce and then truckloads of money just start showing up at the office. It's nothing like that at all, unfortunately. But so with that advice, essentially you get in, you get out of it what you put into it. So I had to be told that. So I started going to their networking events and their education programming. And that's when I started making connections and people started to be like, "Oh, I need some IT help," or "I know these people that do that." And that's where it kind of, the rubber meets the road. And then that turns into things like I was doing presentations and, generating clients that way. So in our area, it's a pretty densely populated area. So the county we're in is Anne Arundel County. There are like 6 or 7 chamber and chamber-like organizations just in this one county, which is super weird. Where my mom lives in Colorado, there's one, and that county is actually bigger than here, but it's a little, desolate out there too. So you may have one, you may have 7, you never know. But if I can make a major suggestion around this, you're only capable of being so involved in organizations. You can't join 100. You can't go to all the things. So I made it a focus to just join 2 chambers because I knew I could do most of what 2 chambers had to offer, but I probably couldn't even stretch that to 3. And that worked out really well. A lot of times if you do have chamber options, you can visit an event. You can kind of see what it's all about. There's 2 chambers out here that are really close together. They're probably like a 10-minute drive from one office to the other office. Completely different. Their mission, the way they look at things, their membership, it's a whole different ballgame. And I learned that by going to the events. So, it'd be silly to join 2 organizations, for example, and then you're just in front of the same sets of people all over again. Like you're not really getting anywhere with that. But if you visit it and kind of get a vibe, the first one I joined, I had 7 choices, and the one I picked was because they had a lot of events, so it was a lot of opportunities to meet people. I'd eventually realized that that's important. So I highly recommend, if they allow you, and they usually do, to kind of feel them out because chances are they're all very different from each other.
What are some of the other things that you say they do events? What are some of the other what are some examples of those events, and what are some of the other things that you are doing with the organizations?
Sure. So a lot of them are like almost like cocktail hour mixers, in the evening. Most chambers that do those will do like one a month. They'll have a breakfast, same idea, but it's breakfast time. Um, they'll do lunch and learns in the middle of the day where you're having lunch and there's a speaker talking about search engine optimization or why you should hire an IT company, that kind of stuff. Let's see what else. Some of them have, or just about all of them have some sort of a signature event, some sort of big deal event. Sometimes it's like a black tie thing or something like that. Trying to think what other kinds of events. Those are the bulk of them. So it's something along those lines. And then as far as interacting, when you go to these things, obviously you want to talk to people. You're not going to talk to everybody. That's not possible. I've learned over the years that also it's not good to walk in there and just keep handing people your business card and saying, "Hey, please buy my stuff. Please buy my stuff." It's really a relationship type of conversation. So it's way better to go in there kind of like with a pay it forward mentality and say, "Hey," after you get to know the person, like, "Hey, how can I help your business? You're selling commercial truck insurance. Like, how do you get customers? Or maybe some of my clients should be talking to you. Like, how do you identify that?" And people appreciate it. And it's kind of, pay it forward. It's like the law of attraction. Like if you do good things tend to happen to you. So that's the way I go about it. And it's working out, and I see other people doing it and I think they're doing well too. So that's how I like to approach these sort of things.
So I imagine some of these chamber groups, depending on the area, are pretty large. What are some of the other things that you can do to kind of maximize your presence or influence within some of those organizations?
Yeah, fair enough. So I don't know that everybody tuning in is going to do it this way, but I tend to stand out a little bit between the 8-foot hair and the nerd glasses. I was at an event this morning where I had a really loud sport coat on with two different colored shoes. I mean, you've met me. I'm kind of a cartoon character, but people remember me, you know what I mean? Or like people will come up to me like, I'm sorry, I just have to talk to you because obviously there's something going on here. It's like, well, that was cool, But so I think it helps to be memorable and certainly be pleasant. Some of the organizations will tell you in advance who's coming. And if they do, that's a great opportunity to say, hey, I need to get out in front of more insurance agencies. Oh, there's 3 insurance companies there. Let me make it a point to talk to those 3 people. You can put some strategy into it if at all possible. But what I learned the hard way was one of the many things I learned the hard way was, sometimes you'll get sucked into an interesting conversation, but it could chew up the entire evening, and then you've met a grand total of 1 person. So a lot of times what I'll do when you start to get in that territory is I'll be like, hey, I'm sorry, did you see where the bathroom is? I've got and they're like, oh, it's over there, and then you just kind of mill around the room. But you want to meet, I don't know, 3 to 5 people at a given event if you can pull it off.
And so, in your history, what are some of the different types of collaborations you've gotten out of these commerce organizations and networking events?
So for me, it's like B2B kind of stuff. So the insurance agency one is a pretty obvious one. I did there's like a local magazine, really nice actually magazine that's put together for local folks in the neighborhood. I think it went out to like 2,000 homes nearby. So we were advertisers in that for a year. And the guy hits me up. He's like, hey, let's have lunch. Let's talk about your renewal. So we sit down, we have lunch, and I said, hey, we average 1 client every 3 months out of this thing. This is like the world's worst investment. But you keep going into other businesses to sell sponsorships and have referred us a lot of clients. So we're going to renew, but not for your traditional reasons, So it's outside of the box thinking like that helps a lot. So if you find, like, I get excited about companies that, we serve the small business space. So anytime I encounter a company that does that, financial advisors, CPA firms, I'll have the conversation of, hey, do we want to do some joint marketing together? Can we bring each other up to our current clients? Whatever makes sense at the time. Let's have a lunch and learn together. You appreciate this, Matt, but like the cybersecurity slant that MSPs do is really, really important. And outside of the IT industry, nobody cares. It's boring. It's boring nerd stuff, and they all need it. They all need EDR, but they don't want to even learn what EDR is. So I figured out a while back, I can't have a successful lunch and learn talking about EDR, but maybe if I team up with an accounting firm and a insurance firm and say, hey, here's the 5 things you need from each of these 3 industries to make sure that your small business is successful, people show up and people actually pay attention and they care. So those kind of collaborations, I think, go a long way.
That's really interesting. So you probably piqued some interest in people. What's the best way to get started?
As far as like getting somebody interested?
Yeah, well, or is even like finding a professional association to join. Like where do people go? Where do people find them? Other than the Chamber of Commerce, I think that one's a little bit more straightforward. But there's lots of other ones. Where should they start? What's important?
I would definitely Google, but some of the best things I found were kind of word of mouth. So if you start interacting with, say, your chamber, ask folks what else they do for marketing stuff. I'm constantly asking folks, you find out things you may never have found out otherwise. I was just literally just texting with a client of ours. They're in the large vehicle repair universe. So they wouldn't fix your car, but if you had, an Amazon delivery van, they would work on something like that. They are heavily expanding in the construction arena, which kind of makes sense given what they do. But construction folks need IT support too. So they're telling me about all these construction trade organizations I've never heard of that we're going to start getting out in front of because, hey, it's a business opportunity. And at least around here and probably elsewhere, not a lot of IT companies that are doing that, so it's any chance you have to stand out, I think is a good opportunity to kind of jump on the ship.
Excellent. I'm gonna ask a different question. Are there any drawbacks or pitfalls that you've discovered being so heavily involved in these community organizations or chambers or professional associations?
Oh, that's a good question. So you can absolutely waste your time, on certain aspects of this. So you want to make sure that you're being, intentional and strategic about what you spend your time on. Um, I was in BNI years ago, and an attorney friend of mine who was in BNI had a great way of explaining how she invests her time because she's paid by the hour, like many of us are in this industry. And she said, my billable rate is $350 an hour. So I asked myself, is what I'm doing going to generate at least $350 an hour? And if the answer is no, I don't do that anymore. And I think that's a great way of looking at it. It absolutely translates into our industry. It can be that black and white. Now, truth be told, you're probably not going to land a client at your very first chamber event. You know what I mean? It's not a one and done kind of thing. You do need to really spend time on it, but periodically you need to reflect on what does and doesn't work. You can't call us and do business with us without us saying, how did you hear about us? Because we're constantly tracking what makes that phone ring. It's not always a Google ad or a networking thing. So you need to pay attention to that kind of stuff. But and just don't be afraid to pull the plug. If you've been at something for 6 months and it's going absolutely nowhere, pull the plug. Your time is precious.
Time is money. Yeah, time is money.
Exactly.
Time is probably your most precious commodity. So definitely want to protect that. So you mentioned the NSI TSP, and I want to give you an opportunity to briefly cover that because I know that's a very important association to you right now. Tell us a little. We've had Carl Palachuk on before, so some of our listening audience may be aware of the organization, but tell us a little bit about it, what it's about, and but more importantly, tell us kind of how it's changed your business.
Yeah, sure. And it's funny. You could ask any board member, what is the NSI TSP? And we all have our slightly different takes on it or the things that we like to emphasize. So chances are this will be a little different than how Carl would explain it. But we're essentially elevating the professionalism of the industry. Like I said earlier, there's no real regulation, which, to be fair, I'm not really a fan of regulation. But if we're going to be regulated, and it's starting to look like that's going to happen, we need to have a voice. We need to have a seat at the table. We need to be a part of the conversation. So we, a while back, they may have had the best of intentions, but CISA released some communication about working with MSPs. And the way I read it was they basically said, you need to run, you need to hide, they're coming for your babies. Like MSPs are evil, blah, 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 blah. So I was able to get an audience with the director of CISA, and we had a conversation around that. And we're all trying to protect small businesses and critical infrastructure. We have the same mission. We should be working together. And I happen to be near Washington, D.C. So I've been leading the charge with talking to CISA and Department of Homeland Security and NSA, and just trying to get everybody on the same page. And Carl backed me up. It was an incredible amount of red tape to get that party started, but our foot is in the door, and they're listening to us, and it's been really wonderful. We're a part of the solution and not competing against each other anymore, which is very good. That's all because of the NSI TSP. We're also trying to get the legislation stuff off the ground so that we all have a voice in our respective states, on how things go down. Let's see here. We're really just trying to elevate the professionalism period with a rather thoughtful code of ethics, mission, vision, values, how we as IT folks operate. There's a badge system that's been implemented where you can convey to a prospect or even a current client that you know what you're doing. You're a professional MSP. MSPs in general are usually good outfits, but there are a few bad ones out there. And, it's never a bad thing to be able to distinguish yourself from folks like that. And then for us, it's I started this company because this industry has had at times, a bad reputation. And um, my heart is absolutely and has always been, essentially where the NSITSP's mission is. But anytime you get a lot of energy into something, you get a new level of focus. So we are a very ethical company, and there's things I do behind the scenes to ensure that our employees and teammates are driving home that mission. But we didn't actually have a code of ethics. It wasn't until I helped the NSITSP develop theirs, I was like, well, we need one of these too, So it wasn't revolutionary in that it changed how we do things per se, but it just made us do them better and with more intention and more specifically. And I think anytime you do that in business, you're just better off. So I do it because I really like helping the industry and helping small business. But I mean, it's been a direct benefit for us too. It's I didn't see that coming, but that's that pay it forward thing. You just try to go out there and do right by folks, and you shouldn't do it to help yourself, but it probably will help yourself. And that certainly was the case for me.
That's great. That's great. And unfortunately, we're out of time for this segment. But a fascinating discussion, Chris. I really think you've opened up a lot of people's eyes during this conversation to really think about some of the missed opportunities they have working with these organizations, not only from a collaboration and kind of a way to generate new leads, but also ways to improve your own business or your own reputation within the community. So I think that's fascinating stuff. But we're not done yet. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Chris is going to enter the hot seat with our 3 questions segment. We're going to hit him with 3 rapid fire questions. It's always a lot of fun. And we're going to talk a little bit about events, and we're going to talk a little bit more with Chris. So stick around. We will be right back. And we are now back after the break. Chris Barber with Cheaper Than a Geek is still here with us on the other side, ready to take a seat and answer our 3 hot take questions in our 3 questions segment. Really excited about it. Chris, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
He's ready and excited, folks. All right, here we go. Question number 1. What's a key benefit MSPs can get immediately after joining a professional organization?
Networking. So if you network correctly and you build referral sources, boom, it can be a game changer.
Excellent. Question number 2. How does membership in a professional organization translate into profits?
It's so much of it is just building your network. So like I was saying, referral sources is where it's at. Rather than land one client, you want to land a relationship with somebody that can send you lots of clients. And ideally, it's a reciprocal relationship where you're doing the same in reverse. So it's a beautiful thing. Let me tell you, man.
All right. And question number 3, does membership really influence buying decisions?
I think it does. I'm sure you've heard the expression, people buy stuff from people they know, like, and trust. That's how you get your foot in the door. If you're doing, say, a networking event, that's how you get that party started.
All right, Chris, thank you so much for answering our 3 questions. I think they were great, summed up a lot of what we were talking about earlier and put a nice little bow on it. So I think that was excellent. We're not going to say goodbye yet, though, because we're going to talk a little bit about events. So as you know, Chris, because you've spoken at some of our events, ChannelPro does events all over the country, some live events. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the event that you spoke at?
Okay, yeah. So I was there representing the National Society of IT Service Providers, which is a grassroots organization that's designed to elevate the professionalism of our industry and kind of get out in front of regulations and industry regulation so that we all have a seat at the table. Anytime somebody wants to hit me up and talk about this, I'd be happy to talk their ear off. But the event was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. I've got a very short attention span, and you'll probably recall seeing me in the room pretty much the entire time because all of the talks were engaging. They were interesting. They weren't necessarily too long. Everybody had something thoughtful and important to say. And I found my time. I've been to 2 ChannelPro events so far this year, and I found both of them to be awesome. I mean, just the fact that I was at one, liked it so much, went to another one a month later, kind of tells you, I had to get on an airplane to get on the second one. Obviously I'm a big fan, and it's looking like I'll be hitting a few more too. So can't say enough good things about your conferences. Are awesome.
Excellent. And folks, take Chris's advice. Go to events.channelpronetwork.com. Learn about our upcoming events that we have. We have both in-person events and online events as well that you can attend from the comfort of your own office. We keep those nice and short and quick, but we pack a lot of information in those. We've got a product roundup coming up later, I believe in September. That's hosted by me, so it's a good one to sign up for. But the live events are really where you can get a lot of great networking, a lot of great information, like Chris was saying. We have our Channel Pro Defend event coming up August 7th and 8th. That's our next big one. That's our 2-day cybersecurity focus event. A little bit different than the ones that Chris was talking about there, because that was our live event, which we have another one of those coming up in Charlotte later in the year, as well as Dallas. But Defend is next, August 7th and 8th on the East Coast. If you're not on the East Coast, we're also doing another Channel Pro Defend event in LA in November. So again, 2-day cybersecurity conference, really good stuff, a lot of breakouts, a lot of great information. Please go and check that out. If you're listening on your phone, open up the description area there. We got some links in there for you can easily find the registration. It's free to register for qualified attendees. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like, the subscribe, the bell, and all the different buttons that are on YouTube, and leave a comment too. We really appreciate that. But open up the description area on YouTube there, and we've got the links for you in there as well. Or if you're watching, you can scan the QR codes I've been putting up on the screen here. That will take you to the registration page for all of those events. So hope to see you at one of them later this year. For those who want to get more out of their business, who want to grow, who want to learn, who want to see what's going on in this crazy industry, channelpronetwork.com is the place to go. That is our website. Please bookmark it, set it as your homepage. Go there each and every day. You're going to find all kinds of news, resources, white papers, downloads, interviews, articles, all kinds of great stuff that'll help you with your business. So please go and check those out, because we have a couple examples if you'd like to see what's on the channelpronetwork.com website today, how MSPs can leverage MDR to expand their security business. Who doesn't want to expand their security business these days? It's such a big opportunity. Plus 5 creative ways MSPs can uncover new business opportunities. You learned about a few here in regards to being involved in a professional organization, but there are lots of other ways too. You can uncover new business opportunities, and that article will show you. You can find it right now on channelpronetwork.com. Go there and check it out. Chris, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had a good time.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. That was awesome.
Awesome. I look forward to having you back. But in the meantime, if anybody wants to reach out to you, network with you, where can they find you? What's the best way to connect with you?
Probably best way is LinkedIn. So Christopher J. Barber will get you to me. Just look for the hair. And I'd love to connect with some more like-minded IT folks.
Awesome. Well, folks, reach out to Chris. We'll throw his LinkedIn in the description area for the show as well, to make that easier for you to find. And with that, please, folks, subscribe to Channel Pro Weekly. Tell a friend, tell a buddy, tell a colleague, get somebody that you know listening to, so that way you have something to discuss over your lunches or coffee breaks or at the water cooler, if people still stand around water coolers in businesses these days. I don't know. If that's a thing, let me know in the comments if that's still a thing.
We have one.
So it's still a thing. It's cheaper than a geek. So that's good. It'll give you something to talk about. So yeah, subscribe to Channel Pro Weekly anywhere it's found. We're in all the different podcast apps. We're on YouTube as well. Hit the like, hit the bell, hit the subscribe. And if you do that, you'll be notified of new episodes, which you will discover next week. So until then, we will thanks for everybody for listening or watching, and we will see everyone next week. Until then.